Welcome to Beyond the Clinic, the podcast for health professionals ready to transform their expertise into innovative income streams that extend beyond the traditional clinic model. I'm Sarah Armand-Bushell. I'm a registered dietitian and certified business coach and proud owner of 2 successful online businesses. I understand the leap from the security of a regular salary can feel intimidating because I've been there too. But it doesn't have to be scary, and you do not have to do this alone. Here you'll learn tangible strategies to accelerate your business growth. So if you're dreaming of using your expertise to create impact and a life of freedom, then you're in the right place. If you want more clients for your private practice, the best thing you can do is learn a few simple strategies to get people to see the value in investing in their health. And that's exactly what we're going to cover in today's episode. Now, if you're already running your own business, hats off to you because it is not easy. And one of the number one reasons it's not easy, especially for those of us living in the UK, is because we're not just selling a service. We're selling something that people think they can already get for free through the NHS. And that completely changes the game for us as health professionals. Because it means we're having to work against a really strong default belief that healthcare should be free. Or at least they should even try every free option first before thinking about investing. And I'm sure you've experienced this firsthand in conversations with potential clients, like the discovery call where they're really engaged, they know they need help, and then they end the call with, "I'm just going to see what my GP says first." Or the client that finally DMs you back and says something like, "This has been really helpful, but I'm going to try and sort it myself for a bit. I'll come back to you if I still need some support." Or the classic, "I just want to do a bit more research before I invest." And don't get me wrong, we're not against people being informed, but what it often feels like in reality is this constant loop of people circling support, recognizing that they need help, and then defaulting back to the free option. And if we're honest, it can feel incredibly frustrating because you're spending a lot of your time and energy doing these discovery calls or replying to messages back and forth. So what does this mean? It means that we have to be more intentional with our content and how we communicate the value of what we offer. So in this episode, I'm going to break down how to create content that does exactly that. Content that helps people understand the value of investing in their health and positions your expertise as something worth choosing and choosing now rather than later. Let's get into it. Okay, let's start with a few fundamentals of what your content needs to be doing in the first place to attract clients your way. Because before anything, you need to make sure you're getting the basics right. So your content is actually pulling people in and holding their attention and making them feel like you really understand them. And one of the simplest but most powerful shifts that you can make here is this. Stop leading with what people need and start speaking to what they want. I'll share an example of exactly how you can do this in a second, but this is really crucial when writing your social media content. You always need to focus on what people want, not on what they need, because what people need is often far too far removed from where they are right now. It feels technical or clinical or overwhelming, even if it's completely correct. But what people want is immediate, emotional, and very easy for them to relate to and see themselves in. Many people don't fully understand their health issues and what they need to be doing to improve their health, but they do feel their problem and they know exactly what they want. So make sure you're always talking to the outcomes that they desire more than anything else. And then, of course, once they're a client, you absolutely give them what they need. An example will help you see the difference here. Let's say you're an IBS dietitian and you're writing a post about helping people manage their IBS symptoms. If you lead with what they need, your content might sound something like, If you want to manage your IBS, you need to follow a structured low FODMAP approach, but guided by an experienced dietitian. Identify your trigger foods and to support your gut health by careful reintroduction in a staged way. Now, yes, that might be accurate. That might be the clinical pathway. That might be exactly what you would support them with. But when someone is scrolling Instagram at 8 p.m. on a Friday evening, bloated, in pain, worried that they might have to cancel their plans because a flare-up is starting, that kind of language just doesn't land. Whereas if you lead with what they want, you might say something like, if you want to be able to eat a meal without immediately wondering how your stomach's going to react, if you want to stop worrying that you'll have to cancel plans because of a flare-up, here's what you need to do. So can you see the difference when you focus on the wants over the needs? That's what tells people this person gets exactly what I'm going through. You want your content to reflect their lived experience, their specific frustrations, and the things that they are thinking at 8 p.m. at night. So the first thing to remember is focus on wants over needs. Okay, now let's move on to the next shift your content needs to make to get people to invest in their health. The next shift is helping people understand the cost of doing nothing, because one of the biggest reasons people don't invest in their health is because they believe they've got time. They might tell themselves, well, it's not that bad yet, or I'll deal with that properly next month, or I'll just try a few more things on my own first. What your content needs to do is show them what staying in that cycle is actually costing them. Because if all your content does is educate or relate to their current struggles, they feel seen but not moved to act. So, for example, staying with the IBS example, instead of just talking about what they could do to manage symptoms, you might start creating content like what happens when IBS is left unmanaged long term, or how constantly avoiding foods without guidance can actually make things worse. Because often people normalize their situation and your content needs to gently challenge that. So you can get people to a point where they realize, actually, this isn't going to go away on its own. But the key word here is gently. You're not trying to scare people into working with you. You're helping them connect the dots between where they are now and where that path leads if nothing changes. And that might not be further health issues. That might be the impact it has on their lives, on their loved ones, on their friends and family. Now let's move on to the third and final shift that you need to be making in your content if you want to get people to invest in their health. This next shift is about proactively addressing the reasons people might not invest in the first place. So instead of waiting for those objections to come up on a discovery call, your content needs to start handling them before that point. So this is where your content becomes really quite powerful. One of the biggest objections that you're up against is, of course, can't I just get this through the NHS for free? People in the UK have been conditioned to believe for years that healthcare should be free of charge, or at the very least, they should exhaust every free option first before even considering paying. Now, I'm not saying we need to be criticising the NHS and telling people to choose our services instead. It's more about helping your audience understand the difference between free healthcare and bespoke one-to-one private support, because most people genuinely don't actually realise the differences. So how can you do this in your content? Well, you do it by clearly showing what your private support actually looks like in practice, so people can feel the difference. And there's loads of ways that you can do this. You could talk to the benefits of having tailored, personalized plan over one-size-fits-all diet sheets. You could also mention how support doesn't just stop after one session and you have to wait 6 weeks or longer for a follow-up, but continues over time with contact between sessions. So if they have questions, they can get guidance when they need it without needing to wait for the next appointment. You can also mention the fact that you actually have the time to go so much deeper with people, to properly understand what's going on for them, to ask the right questions, and to look at the bigger picture instead of just giving quick fire general advice which, let's be honest, if you're working in an NHS clinic, you might be limited to 20 minutes, half an hour max. You can also speak to the difference that accountability makes, which is something they're unlikely to get in free support. Accountability is huge because a lot of people already know some of what they should be doing, but what they're missing is that consistent support to actually follow through when life gets busy or things feel really hard. And you could talk to the benefits of being part of a community. Again, something that usually isn't part of more generalized or free support, but helps them see the benefits of having a community of like-minded people around them and connecting with others on a similar journey who actually understand what you're dealing with. Now, of course, this is something that would come when you have a group program or a course or a membership as fairly standard. Now, I'm not saying go and over-explain yourself and start listing all of the things that you do in detail or turning every post into a breakdown of your services. You just want to be weaving these points into your content in a really natural way so that people start to understand what they're investing in and why it's different from trying to do it all on their own or relying on the free support. So how can we naturally do this in our content? Well, you might share a client result post where you're talking about someone's transformation after working with you. You can casually mention how they were able to get such incredible results because it was super detailed and a tailored plan for them, as well as ongoing support in between sessions. Or you might do a post breaking down why people often struggle to get results on their own. Now, in this post, you might gently point out that it's usually because they're missing the things like the accountability to help keep them on track. Then you could go into how you help hold your clients accountable specifically. Or you might do a post on a time when one of your clients shared a tip inside the group community that worked really well for them. And then another client tried that the same week and came back saying it made a huge difference for them too. Now, all of these things then help to build that bigger picture in someone's mind of what it's like to work with you and the things they're unlikely to get with free support. And when people start to repeatedly see the depth and personalization of your support, as well as the results that your clients are getting, they're going to stop thinking in terms of, can I get this for free? And they're going to start thinking, well, this is an entirely different level of support altogether. And that's the shift that leads to people actually investing in their health. Now, I know what you might be thinking at this point. Sarah, this all sounds great, but it feels a little bit uncomfortable for me. And I get it. Talking about investing in health, positioning your services as something worth paying for, and addressing the difference between free and paid support, it can feel a bit uncomfortable. Because as health professionals, we haven't been trained to think this way. So when it comes to creating content that encourages investment, it can feel a bit off, like you're being a bit too pushy, or like you're somehow taking away from the care element of what you do. Reframing this can really help here because you're not convincing someone to spend money for the sake of it. You're helping them access a level of support that can genuinely change how they feel, how they function, and how they live their day-to-day life. You're helping them get results that they haven't been able to get on their own through the generic free options. And when you start to see it like that, talking about investing in your health doesn't feel uncomfortable because you start to realize that staying quiet about your amazing work doesn't actually serve anyone. The reality is, if you don't talk about the value of what you offer, your dream clients are never going to know what it's like working with you. So this is your reminder to start shouting about the impact that you can have and the amazing support that you provide. If you want more clients, then it's time to start fully and confidently communicating those things. So let's bring this back to the big question behind this episode. How do you actually get people to invest in their health? It really does start with your content, and your content needs to be doing three key things. Number one, speaking to what your ideal client actually wants over what they need. Number two, helping people understand the cost of doing nothing and staying where they are. And then, of course, number three, handling those objections, especially the price objection, because that's going to be the big one for a lot of your ideal clients, particularly as they're likely be able to have free options through the NHS. So now it's action time, and I want you to go back and look at your recent content and honestly ask yourself, am I speaking to what my ideal client actually wants here, or mostly talking to what they need? Am I helping them see what happens if nothing changes? Am I clearly showing how the level of support that I provide is different from trying to do this alone or relying on the free options? Start doing these things with your content, and then you can thank me later. And if this episode has made you realize that your content might not be quite doing the job of moving people towards investing in their health, then this is exactly the kind of thing we work on inside my Social Media Made Simple course. Because it's one thing to create content that gets likes and a few comments, but it's a completely different skill to create content that actually shifts someone's mindset and helps them get to a point when they're ready to invest in support. The course teaches you everything you need to know to grow on social media as a health professional. I teach you simple strategies to help you get in front of more of your ideal clients, but I also teach you how to attract the right people and how to move people through the different stages of awareness so they go from just discovering you to trusting you to actually want to work with you. My students have seen some amazing results from this course. Go and check out the sales page in the show notes if you want to have a nosy. And if you've got any questions, or if you want to see the Social Media Made Simple course could be a good fit for you, you can just DM me with SMMS on Instagram, and you can find my Instagram handle in the show notes or just by searching Dietitians in Business. Bye for now. That's it for another week. Thank you so much for joining me as we explore the abundance of strategies to help you recapture that feeling of possibility and excitement as you drive your business forwards and beyond the clinic room. If you found today's episode inspirational, then don't forget to like and subscribe to the show to stay in the loop for more valuable advice that I'm going to be sharing each week. If you want to be the first to hear about new episode releases, news and ways that I can support your business growth, then please don't forget to check out the links in the show notes, and you can also connect with me from there. Don't keep me a secret. I would be delighted if you left a review and shared this podcast with your colleagues. Until next time, bye for now.